Have you ever felt that small pang of guilt when prioritizing your own needs? That inner voice whispering that you're being selfish when you decide to put yourself first? If so, you're not alone. Our culture celebrates personal sacrifice as the highest virtue and condemns selfishness as the lowest of vices. But what if I told you that this view isn't just wrong, but that it might be silently destroying your life? What if the real problem isn't selfishness, but an unbalanced altruism that slowly drains your life force, damages your relationships, and, ironically, diminishes your capacity to truly help others? Two of history's most controversial and frequently misunderstood thinkers, Friedrich Nietzsche and Ayn Rand, independently arrived at a shocking conclusion. True altruism is only possible when it stems from healthy self-love. They warned us that a society that demonizes self-care is in fact creating weak, dependent individuals who are ultimately incapable of contributing significantly to the greater good. Today, I'm going to show you a truth that few have the courage to face. Why healthy selfishness isn't just permitted, it's absolutely necessary for an authentic and truly altruistic life. The lie of self-sacrifice that you've swallowed. Look at yourself in the mirror. Seriously, look hard. I see a deformed self-sacrifice looking back. A ghost of what could have been if you'd had the courage to put yourself first. When Friedrich Nietzsche declared that the altruistic man is in decline, he was pointing directly at you. This man, this woman, who has transformed into a shadow of themselves in the quest to please, help, support, and sustain others, whilst their own being withered in darkness. In Beyond Good and Evil, Nietzsche didn't hesitate. Your altruism is your extraordinary fatality. It's not a compliment. It's a terminal diagnosis. You're dying inside, slowly suffocated by the expectations of others that you've accepted as your own. Ayn Rand, from the other side of the political spectrum, arrived at the same brutal truth when she titled her provocative work, The Virtue of Selfishness. For Rand, the problem isn't that you occasionally think about yourself. It's that you almost never do so honestly. Your existence has become an exercise in self-erasure disguised as virtue. Man must live for his own sake, wrote Rand, neither sacrificing himself to others nor sacrificing others to himself. It's not a suggestion, it's an imperative for psychological survival that you've been ignoring. How much longer do you intend to live for the approval of those who benefit from your self-sacrifice? How much longer will you allow your vital energy to be drained by relationships that demand you to be less so that others can be more? A Harvard study confirms what your body already knows. People like you, who consistently prioritize others at your own expense, aren't virtuous martyrs. They're worrying statistics. 35% more physical health problems, 60% more symptoms of depression, relationships that are 42% less satisfying. This isn't just another statistic. It's your life transformed into a number. Do you feel that tightness in your chest right now? The constant exhaustion, the feeling of emptiness when you're finally alone? It's not virtue, it's the physical price of your false altruism. And here's the devastating irony that Nietzsche identified. You're not even good at the role you've chosen. People like you, the extremely altruistic, are rated as 27% less effective in their efforts to help others. Your self-sacrifice isn't just killing you, it's making you useless to the very people you're trying so hard to serve. The painful truth that will set you free. It's time to face some brutal truths. Your altruism isn't as noble as you think. Often it's a mask for fear, fear of conflict, fear of rejection, fear of your own strength, fear of your own greatness. Nietzsche saw this clearly. What he called slave morality isn't virtue born of strength, but a strategy of the weak to survive. When you always say yes, when you're always available, and when you never set boundaries, it's not because you're a wonderful person. It's because you're too frightened to live on your own terms. And Rand would go further. Your false altruism is, in many cases, a form of manipulation. You make yourself indispensable to others, constantly sacrifice yourself. then secretly, or not so secretly, resent the very people you help. You use your self-denial as moral capital, as a blank check for guilt and obligation. Do you see how manipulative that is? How dishonest? The true virtuous selfishness that Nietzsche and Rand advocated has nothing to do with using others or being indifferent to others' suffering. It's about radical honesty, the courage to recognize and meet your own needs without apologies or self-flagellation. As Nietzsche brutally put it, love thy neighbor as thyself, but first be one who loves himself. Note well the order. First, love yourself. First. Rand complements this truth with equal force. To say, I love you, one must first be able to say, I. How many times have you said, I love you, when you could barely define who this I was that supposedly loved? You are a ghost trying to embrace people of flesh and blood, a shadow trying to provide warmth, an echo trying to start a conversation, and then you wonder why you feel so empty, why your relationships are so unsatisfying, why your help seems to evaporate without lasting impact. The discipline of virtuous selfishness. Enough diagnosis. You're sick. We've established that. The question now is, do you have the courage for treatment? Do you have the strength for healing? Nietzsche would talk about becoming who you are, not as an exercise in self-indulgence, but as a fierce discipline. It's time to unearth the authentic you that has been buried under years of external expectations. First step, declare independence or die slowly. Do an inventory of inherited values now, not tomorrow, now. List the beliefs and expectations you've absorbed from your family, religion, culture. How many of these are truly yours? How many do you maintain only out of fear or inertia? Identifying a single belief that you hold, not from personal conviction, but from external pressure, is not enough. That's cowardice disguised as progress. Identify the 3 most limiting ones and begin to methodically dismantle them. If the idea of this makes your stomach churn, good. It means I'm touching the exposed nerve of your suppressed authenticity. Second step, learn the real meaning of love before it's too late. Your relationships are sick because you are sick. You practice a love based on self-erasure, not authenticity. A love that resembles servitude more than freedom. Nietzsche despises this type of love. For him, true love isn't fusion. It's the celebration of healthy distance, respect for the otherness of the other. Rand is even more direct. Love is not self-sacrifice, but the most profound affirmation of one's own being and values. You love in others what you recognize as valuable in yourself. Examine your closest relationships. Where are you practicing false altruism? Where are you yielding to avoid conflict? Where is your yes really a suffocated no? Choose your most important relationship. Establish a healthy boundary today. Say no, where you would have automatically said yes before, and do it without excessive apologies, without elaborate justifications. I can't do that is a complete sentence. True love will survive your no. False love will crumble, and you should be grateful for that. Third step, discover your value. Before others define your price, Nietzsche spoke of the pathos of distance, a healthy feeling of self-worth and dignity. It's not arrogance, it's honest self-knowledge. Rand advocated rational pride as the recognition of the fact that you are your greatest value. Start an accomplishments journal today, not just of external achievements, but of moments when you acted in accordance with your deepest values, even when difficult. And when the voice of false modesty arises, the one that says recognizing your value is arrogance, combat it with the daily affirmation, I have the right to recognize my value without false modesty. Do you see the pattern? You've been conditioned to believe you needed to choose between being selfish and petty, or altruistic and self-negating. This is the fundamental lie that has poisoned your existence. Fourth step, abandon the emotional slavery you call generosity. Your patterns of giving and receiving are probably as unbalanced as your sense of identity. Nietzsche would despise how you indiscriminately distribute your vital energy, as if it had no value. Rand would talk about psychological trade, the understanding that healthy relationships involve mutually beneficial exchanges, not unilateral sacrifices. Examine honestly, where are you giving from a place of genuine abundance? And where are you giving out of obligation, guilt, or fear? Identify your most unbalanced relationship, the one where you constantly give and receive crumbs. Now, make a deliberate change. Not necessarily by cutting off the relationship, although that might be necessary, but by adjusting your investment to a sustainable level. Reduce your availability. Protect your time and energy. Observe the reactions. Those who truly value you will respect your boundaries. Those who only valued what you did for them will become disturbed, irritated, manipulative. And thus, you'll know the truth. Fifth step. Embrace your uniqueness or disappear into the mass. Nietzsche celebrated amor fati, love of one's fate, including aspects that society considers unacceptable. Identify a characteristic or interest of yours that you've diminished or hidden for fear of others' judgment. It might be a passion considered frivolous, a countercurrent opinion, a personality peculiarity. Now, don't just acknowledge this, fuss it, actively celebrate it. Express it deliberately in the world, not as an act of adolescent rebellion, but as a deliberate affirmation of your uniqueness. The transformation. You can no longer postpone. The scenarios I'm about to describe are a mirror. Look honestly and recognize yourself. The family that feeds on your self-negation. You've abandoned your dreams, your identity, your boundaries to meet family expectations. You feel guilty when you think of yourself, but secretly resent those you serve. Nietzsche would call your family ties ropes that bind you. Rand would ask why you confuse blood ties with the right to your self-negation. The difficult truth, if your love for family requires your disappearance as an individual, it's not love, it's disguised emotional slavery. The only choice is not between abandoning your family or abandoning yourself. It's possible and necessary to establish clear boundaries that honor your individuality while maintaining meaningful connections. Your capacity to contribute positively to your family increases when you come from a place of conscious choice, not resentful obligation. They may initially resist. People generally fight to maintain the status quo, especially when they benefit from it. But those who truly love, you will adapt. Those who only loved what you did for them may never adapt. And that's valuable information you need to have. The work that devours your soul while you say thank you. You're constantly available to your employer. You accept additional work without adequate compensation. You place the company's needs above your physical and mental health. You call this dedication or work ethic. Nietzsche would see this as an expression of herd morality that glorifies the sacrifice of the individual for the collective. Rand would be even more direct. You're acting as a means to others' ends, not as an end in yourself. The truth you need to face. Your dedication isn't virtue, it's self-destruction. And the system that benefits from it won't feel gratitude. When you inevitably collapse, it will just quickly replace you with another dedicated employee willing to sacrifice themselves. Establish professional boundaries today. Turn off notifications after hours. Refuse additional work without adequate compensation. Take the holidays you're entitled to. Use your free time to develop other facets of yourself. Your real professional value isn't in your constant availability, but in the unique quality of your contribution. And that quality can only be sustained when you honor your needs for rest, renewal, and growth. Your savior-victim relationships. You repeatedly get involved with people who need to be saved. You sacrifice your needs to fix others, only to eventually resent and exhaust yourself. Nietzsche would see in this not genuine compassion, but a disguised form of dominance. You need the broken as much as they need you. Rand would call this reverse parasitism. You feed on their need as much as they feed on your resources. The brutal truth: your need to be needed is as toxic as their dependence. By helping in ways that foster continued dependence, you're not being benevolent, you're being complicit. Supporting others without becoming responsible for their happiness or growth isn't selfishness. It's respect for their autonomy and your own. Authentic love doesn't require you to negate yourself, but to present yourself as a complete individual in relation to another developing individual. Recognizing and establishing this boundary isn't abandonment. It's the only path to genuinely nourishing relationships. Liberation through virtuous selfishness. You've reached a decision point. You can continue on the path of resentful self-sacrifice, slowly losing vitality, authenticity, and, ironically, your capacity to contribute significantly to the world. Or you can embrace what Nietzsche and Rand desperately tried to teach us. True altruism is born of healthy self-love, not self-denial. Let's review the essential truths you must take with you. 1. Your self-sacrifice isn't virtue. It's often fear disguised as nobility. 2. The false dichotomy between selfishness and altruism is literally killing you physically and psychologically. 3. Enlightened self-interest is the foundation of all truly moral and generous action. 4. Healthy relationships are exchanges, not unilateral sacrifices. And that's not mercenary, it's honest. 5. Psychological independence requires you to brutally question the expectations you've internalized. 6. True love celebrates individuality. It never demands self-erasure. 7. Your real moral strength comes from inner abundance, not deprivation or martyrdom. Nietzsche and Rand were thinkers who refused to sugarcoat the pill of truth. Both saw how the glorification of personal sacrifice often masks unhealthy psychological dynamics, resentment, manipulation, control, escape from responsibility for one's own existence. As Nietzsche warned, slave morality, the value system that glorifies weakness, suffering, and self-denial, isn't the pinnacle of virtue, but a survival strategy born of powerlessness. True virtue comes from inner strength and relentless authenticity. Rand complemented this view with her critique of how collectivist ideologies use the ideal of sacrifice to subjugate the individual. Her philosophy sought a morality based not on divine revelation or social pressure, but on the objective needs of human existence, including each person's fundamental need to value and develop themselves. The message from both resonates today with renewed urgency. True generosity cannot come from a depleted and fragmented self. As Nietzsche put it with brutal precision, only from the overflow of power can true giving come. The call to awaken. Look at your life without comfortable illusions. Where are you practicing false altruism, outwardly yielding while inwardly seething with resentment? Where do you sacrifice your genuine needs only to later, consciously or unconsciously, exact an emotional price from others? Where do you use your self-denial as a shield against the true risk and vulnerability of living authentically? The true virtuous selfishness I'm proposing isn't an invitation to indifference toward others. It's an acknowledgement of the fundamental truth you've been avoiding. You cannot give what you don't possess. You cannot authentically love from an empty self. You cannot contribute significantly from a place of exhaustion and resentment. Nietzsche put this with cutting clarity. He who has not enough time for himself is too poor to be generous. And Rand complemented with equal force. To say I love you, one must first know how to say the I, the invitation, no, the imperative. Before you today isn't to reject altruism, but to discover genuine altruism. One that comes from conscious choice and inner abundance, not from guilt, fear, or manipulation. Here's the greatest irony, the one you most fear to face. When you finally embrace healthy self-love, you become capable of a love for others more genuine than would ever be possible through self-sacrifice. You become not just happier, but more genuinely generous, not just more authentic, but more truly compassionate, not just freer, but more deeply connected. In our next video, The Hidden Strength in Not Giving a Damn, Aurelius and Camus's Rebellion, we'll explore how the capacity not to care about what doesn't deserve your energy is an elevated form of wisdom. We'll learn from Marcus Aurelius and Albert Camus why this selective unconcern isn't indifference, but an absolute necessity for your mental sanity in a world that constantly demands your attention and concern. If this video awakened something in you, if you felt that pang of recognition that is both painful and liberating, write in the comments, "My self-love is the source of my true generosity." Not as an empty mantra, but as a commitment to a transformation that can no longer be postponed. Until our next meeting, the choice is now yours.